It's Typewriter Tuesday. Let's journey into the past to see what writers of old used to use to ply their trade. What kind of mechanical beauty does Al have for us this week?
Well, here we are. We have traveled back to 1965 to look at this space age Royal typewriter. Now I say space age because the space race was really underway. We were now sending people into space 2 at a time in the Gemini program, and we were also sending probes to the moon to crash into the moon while taking photographs all the way in from about 1,000 miles out. And as I'm recording this is the anniversary of one of those. So this really has a space age design made by the Royal Company, Royal, great manufacturers of typewriters. I have several of them from various ages, and I love them all. They're just amazing. This is called a Safari. Royal Safari. See a little bit of scuffing in the back from the case. Not unusual for something as old as this. This is a rather remarkable portable, and you might get the sense just looking at it that this is a big one, and it is. It is one of the widest typewriters that I have. I've compared it to the old Underwoods that many of us learned on in school, which are very large. They were just kind of boat anchors, really. And this is as large as those, at least width-wise. It's not as tall, but width-wise it is as large as those. And it's kind of a heavy beast, though it is called a portable. It's meant to be a portable. These were designed and marketed towards students. Almost every print ad you see for the Royal Safari is geared towards teenagers, usually high school teenagers. They even did a 2-page spread for one publication that showed 3 typewriters. This was the middle one. They had a small one that had little hands typing on it, so those that were pre-high school. This one was set for the high school student. And then there's an electric version. Royal came out with its first electric typewriter in 1950. There's an electric version that apparently they thought you would want if you're going off to a college or a university. Again, you see a very streamlined look. It's got an interesting face, almost like a dashboard of a jet or something to that like. And here you have this sweeping return lever, carriage return lever. The knobs are smaller in diameter than most. But it is a great typewriter, and one reason it is so wide is, let's take a look at the keyboard. We have a number 1, and we have really a full keyboard. This is what you'd expect on an office machine. It has, they would call it 88 keys. There's 44 functional keys, that is striking keys, keys that print. And so if you count all of these up here, you get 44, but each of them, of course, has 2 functions. There's lowercase, uppercase, and then in the upper ones, you have the symbols above. So you have the exclamation mark above the 1 and the quotation mark, pound sign, dollar sign, so on, all the way through. So they count them as 88 keys. So it's called a full keyboard or an 88 keyboard, and it's one of the few portables, at least at this year, that was doing that. You could get some that were close to it, but this one is a true full size, including the way your hand fits on it. So I've got these big chubby mitts here, and my hand fits quite comfortably on them. The keys are nicely dished, and they work very, very well. Some other interesting things about Royal is they were big into magic. Well, not, prestidigitation or, occultic magic, but everything was magic with them. So for example, back here, we have a magic margin. And then over to the other side, we have a magic margin. So as you might guess, that's how you set your margins, is right from the front. And you can set your left margin and your right margin, which is very nifty. And then here on the face of it, what they called the panel, if you read their literature, you can do your tab settings. Now here's what's interesting. Notice they don't call them tabs. They call them columns. You can clear your column, clear your tab, and it's also part of this magic column set that you use, so you can set your column or set your tab. And of course here's the tab, which they call column again, margin release and everything else. So it does have bichrome ribbon, so you change your ribbon here, just like most typewriters. Has a tensioner, So this is the touch control, as they call it in their literature. They're very stylish. This is the putty gray. You could get them in several different colors, including antique gold and pottery blue and regimental red. Regimental red. That's what it was. It was regimental red. And I mean, who wouldn't want a regimental red typewriter? And they're all very, very good looking. I want to point out a couple of other interesting little things. But I tell you what, before I do that, let me just show you where the usual suspects are on this. Of course, we have a knob that turns the platen. This frees the carriage to move back and forth. You have one on the other side of that. As we come around the back, you'll notice there is no paper stand on this device. You don't need one. I'll show you why in just a second. No paper stand. We do have the guide, very similar to many other typewriters. Again, another knob, another release for the carriage to move back and forth. It's got a great spring in it. Feels like it's going to break my arm every time I push one of those. And then it has the Platen Release. Now this is the one that won't remember your line. You just push that button in and you turn it. Usually you'd use your index finger and you turn it, and the platen turns nicely, freely, frees it up, but it will not remember your line. It does have one that you can use. You can change this and the roller will spin freely, but it will go back to where you had it. And what you use that for, and you've heard this if you watch some of our other videos, is if you're going to write H2O and you have a subscript, so you write the H, capital H, you do this release over here, you pull it forward, you move your platen just enough so you can do that subscript 2, push that lever back again where it was before, turn the knob, and it puts you right back where you were, so when you type the O, the H and the O are all lined up. And that works for superscript too. So like if you're writing a math formula, 2.5 times 10 to the 5th, the 5 is superscript, it's above the other letters, and that's what you use it for. And very, very handy, does it very well, types very well. Let me show you a little bit of the innards here. This comes just straight up, and it has little pins that go into these spring-held support. So it's a little different than most. It doesn't move forward like on a Smith Corona. It doesn't flip up like on like a hood on a car, as you see on other typewriters. And now we look inside, and as I get closer, you might notice something. You people with the eagle eye, there is no paper bail. Paper bail being that rod, usually with rollers that goes across, holds the paper down. No paper bail on this. No real paper fingers. Those are the little metal ones on the older ones, like from the 30s, 40s, 50s. There's nothing like that. So you see what holds it in place? Well, obviously it's these plastic, and this would become very popular in other models and other brand names. This holds the paper so closely to the platen that you don't need a paper bail. It replaces that. So these are called, are you ready for it now? Remember, you get magic margin and a magic column setting. And these are magic scales because it has a scale on it. But it does have a couple of very interesting little things that a lot of people don't realize. Let me zoom in here, and that's why I'm using my iPhone today. You look very closely here. You can see some of the ribbing on the platen. It's not too bad, but it's got some. See these little holes? That's for drawing lines. So you can type a sentence and go back, put a pencil there, move this back and forth, and you get your horizontal line, and you can leave your pencil in there on either end of these and rotate it, and you get your vertical line, and you end up with something that looks like this. Look at me, I'm in a box. That's not all that new. I have a typewriter from 1919, an Oliver, and they used to have a little stand for the pencil. You'd put it in and you would just tip it over, and you could do the same thing. So it's not that it's new, but it's something a lot of people look over. It's also designed with something that helps you make sure your paper is centered. If you have everything lined up here, and the paper, there is a little red dot right here, very hard to see. That's a little red dot come over here, and you see the other little red dot right there on the end. And your 8.5 by 11 paper, really could be 8.5 by anything, because it's all it's going to do is measure 8.5. We'll go from dot to dot, so you know it's in there straight, and you know right where the center is. And since this thing has scales on it, you can find the center of your paper. And one of the reasons you might want to do that is when you start doing titles. So down here I put an X for the center, and all I did was use those 2 dots and move halfway in, and then backspace for every 2 letters. So you backspace AL, backspace TO, backspace in space, back. Now remember, in typing you have 2 spaces. That's actually between sentences, but so I just did 1 space here. Then it's backspace GA. For the GA, the NS gets backspace, and that will center it over that spot. So these are very, very nice, very useful in the regular typing. Beyond that, it is the same kind of royal carriage that you would see. It is a segmented shift. That means the type basket drops. And then one last thing here to show you on this, you'll see some recent plastic reels. I have the metal ones. I have just not wound ribbon onto those and replaced them, but even those were not part of the original design for this model. These used what was called twin packs, and I found my first set of twin packs in a typewriter I bought yesterday, and they were designed so you could put in the ribbon in 10 seconds and never touch the ribbon itself. And what it is a plastic box around the ribbon, fits over this, and you just buy them that way, and they set in, and it's very, very easy to do. They set up some of the changes, or they changed a few things. They're very hard to come across, at least for me. That's the first pair I found anywhere that's a true twin pack for the Royal. And I'll be showing those to you in another episode when I show you another typewriter similar to one we looked at before. This is a Futura 800, and that's twin packs are designed for those. So that's kind of special to be able to find that. Of course, the ribbon in it is useless, but you know, that's just a problem we'll have to face. See if I can't string some ribbon in there with it. Well, there we have it. It is a very fun typewriter, very nice. Again, you get these in the different colors. Very space age. A lot of it is plastic. Faceplate is plastic. Some of the side is plastic. A little metal in the back. Plastic bottom to this. But when they advertise these, they talk about the steel frame. So everything inside is much more structural. And so it's all metal on the inside. All the guts are metal. Even these type bars here are tempered, very sturdy. If you look on the internet and do Royal, it'd be Royal Safari typewriter ads, you'll see pictures of the old advertising. And if you do that, you'll find one of the ads where it shows 3 teenagers on a board standing on a Royal typewriter, Royal Safari like that, because we all know that teenagers in 1965 liked nothing better than standing on typewriters. Nonetheless, the point was to show how durable, and they repeat that over and over, how durable these things are. And I'm going to agree with it. You can find a bunch of these. They're out there everywhere, and they have hung around a long time. And unless they've been abused, they're very good typewriters. They have lasted and lasted. So Royal produced something that's fascinating, very strong, very usable, even many decades after it came off the manufacturing floor. So, well, there it is, 1965 Royal Safari, space age in putty gray, and you can get them in other colors. Thanks again for watching Typewriter Tuesday. I'm Alton Gansky, altongansky.com. Swing on by, say hi sometime, and if you get a chance, save a typewriter. Bye for now.